Hello, welcome to Ignite Day 4. I hope you're enjoying your conference experience so far. Thanks for coming along today to this session. This is the Office 365 ProPlus and Office 20X mixing it up session. My name is John Maunder. I'm a technology solution professional at Microsoft. So my role is to work with our customers and our partners to understand and to talk about our productivity tools. So Office Client and Office 365 ProPlus being one of the core technologies there. And really what we're going to be talking about today is a session that's been born out of customer conversation. So the customers that I talk to and the partners that I talk to, they're in a world where we have traditional Office MSI installations, and they're looking potentially to move forward with the latest version of Office. And they want to know, why would I consider Office 365 ProPlus over and above the traditional MSI Windows Server Update Services model? Why would I move forward with this new technology? So really, this session is about why deploy Office 365 ProPlus, but crucially understanding the differences between what Office 365 ProPlus delivers and the impact it has on an existing environment. Exactly what is it inside of ProPlus that's different and that needs to change, and how that impacts our overall upgrade process, but also management moving forward. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be framing this session in a high-level conceptual kind of project upgrade and management lifecycle. So as we go through, we'll understand the differences and we'll understand the impact of ProPlus on our overall environment. So we'll also be talking about some customer examples. So I want to highlight to you that this has been done before. It is being done right now, and we're having some great successes around this. So if you have concerns, if you have questions, then let's absolutely have a conversation and let's show you some customers that are actually doing that. So from me to you guys, a quick poll. How many people here are evaluating Office 365 ProPlus today? Wow, that's a pretty large amount. How many people here are actively deploying it today? So good, there's a fair amount of people actively deploying it as well. Excellent stuff. And another question from me to you. How many here are customers of Microsoft? Pretty much everybody. Okay, great news. How many come from our partner community? Okay, so we've got some partners in here as well. Excellent stuff. So let's start with understanding today's challenges. Well, for a start, we have end of support for legacy versions of Office. And this is critical to business today. If you have to stay in a compliant and a supported model for your business, if it's critical to stay up to date, then it's important to understand what we mean by mainstream support and extended support, and actually how that impacts your business. So Office 2003, that went out of support along with Windows XP. So we don't support that with Office 365 ProPlus. If you have a Windows XP desktop estate, we need to consider an OS upgrade along with an Office upgrade project. It's not just a case of upgrading Office because we don't support it in the 365 product stack. Office 2007 is in extended support as of October the 12th, 2012. So it's currently in extended support. So that means we have a 5-year period with extended support that will be going out of support in the next few years. And in Office 2010, end of mainstream support as of October the 14th, 2015. That's an important date to remember. So again, if your business is reliant on being in a supported model, you need to be thinking about moving to the next version of Office. Also part of today's challenges is actually the Office upgrade process itself. Costly, disruptive, time-consuming. If we have product releases on a traditional MSI basis, potentially every 3 years we're releasing a new product. That's not necessarily meaning that you're going to take that as soon as we release it. We appreciate that you may be waiting for Service Pack 1 to come along and maybe a few security, bug fixes, feature updates as well. So potentially you're stretching that time period of deploying one version of Office to the next. And those large gaps can be very disruptive to your business. It can be very disruptive to your end users who have to be trained in moving forward with the latest version of Office. And even the upgrade projects themselves. Large teams, you're putting those together, you're then auditing and understanding your environment, understanding the impact of what bringing a new version of Office means. And actually, what we see on average is 12 plus months before the first seat is deployed into production. That's a huge wait time before you can get any value out of your Office platform from the day that you purchase it. So getting immediate value out of your platform is crucial. You've paid for it, you want to use it, you don't want to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years till you deploy it to your end users, because potentially they've moved on, your business requirements have changed, and even potentially shadow IT is now coming into play, and your users are going out because they see what's in the market, they understand that the latest and greatest is out there and can help their business, and they're going out and they're purchasing their own products outside of your control. So it's important to get that value out of it and deliver that back into the business. So I want to introduce you to the high-level process. So this is how we're going to be framing this session. Evaluation. We need to evaluate what's new and what's different over and above the traditional MSI technology. So what we can then do is plan how that will impact us. Plan for those new features and the new functionality. We also need to audit and understand what's in our environment today. That's also very important because, of course, you have add-ins, you have solutions, and they're all relying on a platform that's heavily integrated into the desktop, especially with traditional Office. You know, we have the COM registrations, the solutions add-ins, your Excel spreadsheets, your Word documents. They're important to the way that your business functions. And those add-ins, of course, also need to work properly. So you need to understand how application compatibility is going to work in a new Office model. Testing, application compatibility. We have a new mechanism. We have a new process. I'd like to introduce you to that as well. Also, then, we have deployment options, lots of deployment options. And how do we manage Office overall? And again, one of the differences between managing Office in a 365 ProPlus click-to-run technology and in a traditional Office and an MSI functionality. And then, of course, end-user training. We talked about that length of time that it might take for you to get from one version of Office to another, and that's going to cause huge disruption to your end users. So what can we do with the new Office 365 ProPlus to actually enable you to be more agile in your business? So let's start with the evaluation. What's new and different in Office 365 ProPlus? So, traditional Office versus Office 365 ProPlus. It's probably worth, at this point, us doing some level setting with our naming conventions. When I say traditional Office, I'm talking about MSI, so that Windows Installer Package, WSUS, so the Windows Server Update Services. I'm not necessarily talking about legacy because, of course, we do have the latest versions of Office 2016 that's in preview today, as MSI as well. So I'm framing legacy Office and the new Office with MSI and WSUS as traditional Office. Office 365 ProPlus is very much our Office as a service. If you purchase Office 365 as a productivity platform and it includes Office 365 ProPlus, it's still the full fat client, it's the rich client, but it's not Office Online. Office Online is a different experience, it's a different service. So it's important to understand that that is different. We still have the same requirements. So Windows XP is not supported. We still have the 32-bit, 64-bit architecture. We still have a lot of options around deployment, and we're going to be talking about some of those options today. Group policy, so we can still control our Office installs with our administrative templates. And extensibility. how we've wrapped extensibility into our Office product is exactly the same as we do with traditional Office. We still have those APIs and those object models, and they're still static. So what's new and different? Licensing and activation is very important, as is identity and authentication. These are fundamental changes in the new Office. Office 365 ProPlus introduces a way where we have user subscription licensing. So now, as an individual user, I have a license around my productivity platform. And for 365 ProPlus, I also have the capability under that user subscription license to leverage my mobile devices and my tablets. And I can extend into using shared computer activation, virtual desktop environments as well. But we need an identity for that, and we need to authenticate against that for license activation. So we'll be taking a look at the processes around that and what you need to take into consideration. And of course, the deployment technology. We have this new deployment technology called Click to Run. So we'll be talking about how that changes things and how you can leverage that platform to give you a more efficient management and update process. So the product updates and the product versions also change. We make available monthly builds, and you can take control of that and push that into production yourselves. It's not about us making changes that impact you directly. You have options and you have control around the new Office 365 ProPlus. We also have different mechanisms for auditing as well. So we'll be taking a look at some of the auditing capabilities. So we can get the source file packages, we can download those, and we can do what we want with those as well. So that's different to traditional Office, where we'd be delivering potentially an ISO and an MSI for you to work with. And of course, side by side on the client. So how it impacts legacy Office and the new Office 365 ProPlus. So, quick look at system requirements. We won't dwell on this too much. The key thing is here, again, I've mentioned it, we don't support Windows XP with Office 365 ProPlus. It's out of support, so nothing's going to be happening with that. And also our browsers. It's worth mentioning the browsers here. With our add-ins, some of our add-ins that we place into Office 365 ProPlus, they leverage the browser. So it's important to understand that we do have system requirements around our browser technologies as well. So what's new in group policy for our new technology? So we do have content specific to Click to Run, namely around enabling automatic updates, managing those updates, managing target versions as well, ensuring that you set your sites on a particular build in a particular point in time, and you can dynamically control that. There's a whole range of these settings that you can set up at time of install. But what group policy allows you to do is then go and dynamically update that. So we've included that in our new technologies as well. And of course, telemetry. We have this new capability called telemetry. It's going to help us do our auditing and our checking of what's in our Office estate, our solutions, our add-ins, and we utilize group policy very heavily to activate that and to control that. We also have a new way of servicing Office 365 ProPlus. So we're now talking about updates and not upgrades. So we no longer have this disruptive manner where we have, okay, I'm on a version of Office, say 2007, and I need to potentially jump to 2013 or maybe moving forward 2016. But actually, there's a whole range of things that have changed there. And I need my business to maintain agility. I need to be able to push that out and allow them to get to know it and get to understand it. So we make these builds available on a monthly basis. And I've actually got some updates based on some of the things that we announced at Ignite this week around updates and how we can manage our latest and greatest builds and also our security packs and bug fixes. But it's important to understand that updates are cumulative. Conversely, with MSI, they were sequential, adding a lot of time onto our base installs. So if I have to go from a base 2013, for example, I may then need to go and install Service Pack 1 and a whole range of other service packs and updates. Where updates are cumulative, going from one build to the next is just going to take those delta changes, and it's just going to impact a restart one time. So we have smaller differences coming out to Office 365 ProPlus. And also, we push that update mechanism back over to the client. So it's no longer a central server management platform. We actually get to control the client and how that behaves with our updates. And we can do background updating. Again, we can leverage group policy to suppress notifications, to schedule updates, and to ensure we are on the correct version at the correct point in time. And I mentioned telemetry. So allowing our IT and our business functions to understand what's in our Office estate. What solutions are being used, what add-ins are being used, what documents are being created, what versions are failing, what versions are succeeding. Getting that report and using that data model to make decisions and to drive down help desk costs. So the updates and future compatibility story, we get a lot of questions around this. You know, today with MSI, we get to deliver monthly updates. We still do that, security and bug fixes and changes, and you can get notified using WSUS and, okay, I can wrap that out and I can push it out. Crucially, I also need to do things like application testing, so I'm going to push that out to my validation group. But what we have here is the same object model and APIs that we're using since 2010. We're using an apps for Office model. So if you have apps that you've purchased or that you've built, and they are built to the apps for Office standard, moving forward into 365 ProPlus, and moving forward throughout our monthly builds, we'll maintain that object model and that API. We'll ensure that we have a service level agreement wrapped around there. So yes, we are updating, or we're making available updates for Office on a monthly basis. You have the control, but we also want to give you the confidence that you have the ability to move forward without it necessarily impacting your add-ins and your COM registrations that you've developed. And we still have the same lifecycle policy as Office, traditional Office as well. It's still that 12-month supportability lifecycle. And we're able to say, okay, as long as, say, for example, January, I deliver a build, as long as I'm on the next build along by February the next year or January the next year, then I'm still in a supported model. And that's not a break-fix boundary. That's a support boundary, meaning that if you want to call up Microsoft and you have a support problem, then yes, we'll absolutely help you, but we need to ensure that you're at least 12 months in support, 12-month build numbers. And that's exactly the same as our MSI. So, click to run. What is click to run? Well, it enables us to deliver Office as a service. So we have this analogy where, you know, I have a mobile device, I have my app store, I go and buy an app, and that's great, it's fine, I have that app. And every now and again, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, my phone will tell me there's a new update in the App Store. So I can click on the update in the App Store, it runs an update, and then that's it. I forget about it. I use the new features, whatever's come to fruition. With Office as a service, that's very much the model we're going for. There's an update available. Do you want to take it? Yes, we do. We want to stay on the latest build. We want to get the latest features that are tying into the rest of our productivity platform. We want that. So when an update gets made available, let's run that through our application testing. Let's ensure that we validate it and that it works. And let's push it out to production and see how we can automate that. And actually leveraging the click-to-run technology, the virtualization technology, allows us to do things like running side by side with legacy versions of Office. And we can deliver Office directly to the end user via the Office 365 portal. So you can give the control back to your end users if you wanted to allow them to go into Office 365 portal, click on install, they can choose their architecture, they can choose their language, and they can get that installed on their local machine, assuming that they're local administrators and you want to allow that. This is a great use case for those remote workers, giving them the capability to update from wherever they are. And then the content delivery network. We're making these builds available on a monthly basis globally, distributed globally. So you have the option to take a build from our content delivery network and actually then download that to your local network and execute your testing, your validation, and push that out to production in your control. So you still have that control around there. And we talk about it being evergreen and always up to date. So again, we're making those monthly builds available. We're also wrapping in product features, new things that are coming with Office that we feel may benefit your business. So we've got a great example within Office. We have this, tell me what you want to do. And it's actually a search bar that appeared in Office. 1 month it appeared, and actually instead of having to find the controls, I can just tell Office what I want to do, and it takes me to the controls. It's a great feature, and it got delivered in a month. Our IT department let us know that this feature was coming because of the notifications that we have at Microsoft. And then we can anticipate that change. The next month we have that. We can take advantage of that new capability and of that feature. Especially if you're tying it into the overall productivity platform, it's great because if we release things like groups in Office 365, you'll see groups appear in Outlook. And you'll see groups appear in your other applications that you want them to. So we release a new feature, you can get that experience in Office the month it gets released. And I've mentioned IT control and manageability. Having that capability to take Office in, to do what you need to with it before then pushing it out to production. So let's take a quick look at the click-to-run install flow. So we have this Office deployment tool. There's actually a session at Ignite that talks all around the Office deployment tool. So what the Office deployment tool is doing as IT administrators is allowing us to execute a download, an install, an uninstall, an update, a repair, and actually configure and customize Office as we need it to. And we have essentially what the Office deployment tool is a setup.exe bootstrapper with a configuration, a customizable configuration file. So when we run setup.exe, it downloads the basic prerequisites, those ICAP files. It brings those down to our local machine. And what it actually then does is it deploys and runs the Office click-to-run client. It then moves into user mode. So this is utilizing the user account, the person that's logged in, runs Office click-to-run.exe. That then goes away and downloads the full prerequisites required. It then installs a click-to-run service. Now this service then moves into system mode. So local system account is then running our streaming and our integration processes in parallel to the first run experience. So when you configure Office and you set it up and it starts running, we'll see that first run experience, that welcome, hi, welcome to Office. These are all the great things that you can do. Of course, as IT professionals, you can suppress those notifications. But in the local system account, in system mode, what's happening is that we're now streaming those bits from the content delivery network or from your local installation point. So it might be a system center configuration distribution point, or it might be a DFS file share, network file share, whatever that may be. It's now streaming. We now give you the capability to start using Office. And in the background, it's doing things like the COM registrations, and it is working on the background integration for Office. And as I say, the click-to-run service runs for the lifetime of Office. Whilst in user mode, the click-to-run.exe, that actually ends, that executes a last run task, and then that ends. So taking a quick look a little bit deeper into it, we have this virtual file system that's getting delivered using the initiator context. So as IT professionals, if you want to track a deployment, look for the integrated office.exe. That's how you're going to be able to track the deployment and the installation of Office on a particular machine. And again, we see that it kicks into the streaming service. So streaming begins, and it moves into the local system account, the system context at 10%. And roughly around the 15% mark, within usually 2 or 3 minutes, we're able to start utilizing Office. It's then going to start caching those bits. It's also going to do bit prioritization. So if you want to use Office, you want to start up PowerPoint, you want to start up Word, it'll prioritize the bits to get that version, that application running as quickly as possible. And then that'll finalize out. So again, a different mechanism to how the MSI, the traditional Office, gets installed. We have the streaming version. We have this virtual file system that provides a level of separation between the application and the OS, but provides enough integration to ensure that our COM registrations, are still active and working, and we still have compatibility with the operating system. So that's a bit about some of the key facts that you may want to understand before moving forward with Click to Run and the Office 365 ProPlus product. And then auditing. There's a good reason why I've put auditing before planning, although these two do very much interchange, because auditing can help us with planning, but of course we still need to plan how we're going to audit. So let's take a little bit of a look about auditing our environment here. So we now have a modern Office compatibility story. So the Office migration planning management tools and the Office environment assessment toolkits, they're still around. You can, still get hold of that information. But really what we're doing is we're looking to move over to our telemetry and our telemetry dashboard. That's going to allow us to fully audit and fully understand what's in our Office environment, discover what's being used today, solutions, add-ins, documents, that kind of thing. And what we then need to do is understand what's important. You may want to bring the business into these conversations. Hey, guys, we found these add-ins, these solutions, these documents that are being used, and are they important? We've got 25 people that are using them. They're C-level staff, they're directors. Let's put some importance around that. Let's do some proactive checking on that. But over here we have one or two people using it, not too sure that we've even purchased this, or even if we're managing it. Is this important to look at? Do we need to look at bringing this add-in to officially support it? If not, well, let's put some reactive testing around it. Let's ensure that they can talk to us and we can troubleshoot that, but let's not necessarily plan that up front. Let's not take the time to bring that into our project. Let's leave that as an outlier and concentrate on what's important to the business. And then, of course, we need to validate. So we need to deploy Office 365 ProPlus to a set of users, ideally IT-friendly users, who are going to be honest and give you some open feedback about exactly whether their add-ins and their solutions are working properly, and bring them in and ensure that things are working properly before you move forward. And then management, how the compatibility model now can also help you with your deployment, tracking and monitoring, reporting and analysing exactly what you have in that estate. And actually you can help drive down help desk costs by proactively seeing and understanding those events that are either succeeding or failing, which operating system they're running on, what version they're running on, and then you can go into and proactively work on those issues. It's probably worthwhile at this point highlighting one of my colleagues' sessions. We have using the Office Telemetry Dashboard to Manage Change, which is by Curtis Sarwin. That was yesterday, so if you didn't go to that session, please do check out the recording. He'll be going through the Office Telemetry and the Office Telemetry Dashboard, exactly how that works and what's in the product. So very well worth taking a look there. But crucially, again, understanding what reports, understanding from reports what issues are being detected, the performance of Office, and understanding who has Office. So when your stakeholders say, how far along of the deployment plan are we? Well, hey, you can give them a data model. You can even surface that into Power BI and just give them a dashboard to manage that. So we're giving you a proactive way to update the data for your stakeholders to understand where you are in your Office deployments and to understand your return on investment as well. So now let's take a look at what you need to plan for. So now we've evaluated the new 365 ProPlus. We understand that there's a new deployment technology and some of the benefits around using the new auditing tools, but we need to plan for things like identity and authentication. So, user subscription licensing for Office 365 ProPlus gives us the ability to use Office on multiple devices. Office 365 ProPlus on a user subscription license, 5 PC or Macs, plus 5 tablet devices, plus 5 mobile devices. Now, in this session, we're not going to talk about the mobile devices and the tablets. This is very much around the Office 365 ProPlus client on the PC and the Macs. But Ultimately, what we need to do to license them is have an identity in the Office 365 service. And we have 3 identity models that we can leverage. We also have a minimum set of attributes. So if you're in an organization that wants to restrict because you are a secure organization who's concerned about too much data in the cloud, we have a minimum set of attributes that will just highlight that you need to be ensuring that are on or are being synchronized if you're using directory synchronization, and also leveraging modern authentication in the new Office platform as well. So very brief overview. I'm sure from this entire conference, you've probably seen this slide 5 or 6 times. For those of you who haven't, the first identity model we have here is cloud identity, 0 on-premises infrastructure. So if you're looking to take advantage of Office 365 ProPlus immediately, I don't want to do anything except for deploy Office 365 ProPlus. Go for cloud identities. There's no on-premises integrations that are going to be required. You can use a Excel file, a CSV file, and even if you wanted to, you can take a CSV directory export, push that into that CSV file, and use PowerShell to script the import of your users into Office 365, and you could PowerShell the licensing activation for Office 365 ProPlus as well. So if you want to get up and running in Office 365 ProPlus, yes, you need an identity. But no, it doesn't need to be time-consuming, and you don't need on-premises infrastructure to do it. The second one is synchronized identity, so running a directory synchronization service on-premises that will allow you to automatically synchronize your directories into the cloud. And our third one is federated identities, allowing us to bring the authentication and authorization processes back onto our on-premises Active Directory platform, and even wrap around some client access policies to ensure that it's secure. So these are the minimum attributes required to deliver Office 365 ProPlus using directory synchronization. I thought this was a worthwhile slide to add up. This information is in TechNet. And if you're using the new Azure Active Directory synchronization tool, which I would be encouraging, you will have a set of options to restrict by app. So select Restrict by App, select Office 365 ProPlus, and even if this is too many, there's actually 1 or 2 that you can take out. Things like the password last set, you can actually take some of these attributes out as well. But these are the minimum recommended attributes. In addition to this, and again, over and above MSI, what we have are client access policies. But it's important to note that some of these client access policies will block the Office licensing service. That's required for licensing and activation for Office. So if you are external to your network and you want to come into and license Office from an external IP address or whatever the policy that you've created, some of these will actually block that activation and licensing process to Office. So you may be seeing activation errors and problems there. So it's well worth noting that actually, if you're using client access policies, then it could potentially be causing you problems around your licensing of Office as well. However, we do have conditional access that you can use. This is a superset of the client access policies. You'll see these things in things like Active Directory Federation Services 3.0, Azure Active Directory Premium, those kind of things. And they'll allow you to secure your environment in a more granular, compliant mechanism. And of course, modern authentication, now allowing you to take advantage of things like multi-factor authentication for Office. So once again, if your users are in Office 365 and you're authenticating through to Active Directory or even the cloud, you are able to wrap around multi-factor authentication, prompting users to enter in a PIN number or answer a text message or a telephone call, or even use the Phone Factor app to authenticate going into Office. So things like Outlook, that can now use the modern authentication platform to ensure that if your device changes location, in the morning you're in the office, that's fine. In the afternoon you go to a cafe, you get internet on an external IP address. You may want to implement multi-factor authentication when they land on an external IP address, you can absolutely do that. Challenge them for multi-factor authentication and ensure you're working in a secure model. So licensing and activation. No key management services required, so no KMS, and no product keys with the multiple activation keys, so we don't need the MAC keys anymore. It's online activation. So you're essentially outsourcing the licensing and activation mechanisms to Microsoft. And again, taking into consideration those client access policies, but ultimately, what we're doing here is you're giving us the online activation. It does require internet access at least once every 30 days. If you're an organization that's potentially research or government, and you have machines that will never see the light of the internet at all, they're 100% locked down, they will never get an internet connection, then we advise you go MSI, traditional office, on the latest version. Because if that can't get to the internet, then you will not be able to license it or maintain the activation on there. So that's just something to note. If you're in a lockdown environment, go traditional office. Because it will move into reduced functionality mode. So we still have Office in there, but it's view and print only. If you're seeing problems with your licensing and activation, we can use the Office software protection platform. And there's a set of tools that allow you to run activation, force activation. You'll also be able to do things like check the activation status and check the product key. And if you're having a problem and you call up support, use the OSP.VBS, run the activation and the statuses, and actually go and get the logs as well and send them over to us, because when you're running the OSP.VBS, it will run logging for you as well. So there is some information around troubleshooting and logging we're happy to provide you. So let's take a quick look at the activation activities. So at time of install, we have an initial registration of the computer. We send the org ID, the machine key, the machine name, and the machine ID. This allows us to track how many machines have been activated, because we have that 5 PC Mac activation, which means as an IT organization, and something we announced on some blog posts and Ignite, we now have the ability for IT administrators to manage these activations as well. So previously, it would have to be a user going into the portal. They would see their list of machines. If they wanted to activate a 6th one, they'd have to go in and deactivate one. Well, now an IT administrator can actually go in and deactivate one on a user's behalf. And then we have a subscription status check and a product key management check. So these go out on a regular basis, and they do things like ensure that you're still licensed, and also they deliver that product key to you as well. So we make sure that information comes down and gets checked back up. And this will maintain Office in full functionality mode. And this is why we need to have internet connection, because it needs to hit this service at least once every 30 days. So what's a Microsoft presentation without an iCheck? So what we have here is the ports, protocols, and URLs for Office 365 ProPlus. You can go to Bing, type in this title, and find all this information. I just thought this was worth highlighting again here. The key thing to notice, and I believe I can... Okay, the key thing to notice here is actually what we have are things like the local system account being used, and we also have the logged on user being used as well. So it's important when we think about proxies and managing proxies that we take into consideration the URLs that we need to whitelist or we need to allow direct access to. So local system account and user account require a proxy configuration. And you can use the automatic proxy files there, so the proxy.pack files. Worthwhile noting, don't put it on a file location. See if you can serve that out via the web server. And here's just an example pack file that we're using here. So what we're saying is that those an example set of domains, and this isn't a definitive list here. You need to check the technical articles for the full list. But just a sample here, what we're doing here is we're bypassing the proxy to these services to ensure that we can maintain that activation. And language packs. Of course, in an MSI world, there was a level of, well, I need to go and purchase a new language pack. Language packs in Office 365 ProPlus, the user subscription, they come with it. You're able to download those language packs and bring them into your source files and your network locations and then distribute them out. We do advise you do this at time of install. So you can use the Office deployment tool to download all the languages that you need and then to install all the languages that you are going to require after that. We can do things like the language interface packs, the proofing tools, the screen tip languages after the fact using those MSI language packs, but we do actually advise you to pour that into the core source before then going ahead and deploying. And the first language determines the shell UI. If you want to change the core language of Office, you need to rerun the Office deployment tool with that language on the top of the language ID list. So we do get a few questions around, well, I need to change the shell UI. Language packs are fine, but I need to change the core language. You need to rerun the configuration file in the Office deployment tool to get that to change that shell UI language. So what about testing? Side by side on the client. So the answer to side by side is legacy versions of Office, MSI, can run side by side with the latest version of Office 365 ProPlus. So moving forward, well, we have 2016, Office 2016, and V16 Office 365 ProPlus. That's the version number behind Office 2016, will run with legacy versions of MSI. So if you have Office 2013 Professional Plus MSI or Office 2013 Standard MSI, and you want to move to Office 365 ProPlus version 16, released later on in the year, you can run those side by side, but not the same version. So side by side, Office 2013 MSI and Office 365 ProPlus today we don't support side by side on a client. That's not to say that technically you can't go and achieve that, but it's not a supported mechanism. We don't advise that. And the main reason is actually because there are shared DLLs there and they'll start to cause conflicts. We do include Project and Visio 2013 into this mix. So again, just for reference, here we have our supported and unsupported. I need to highlight now, this is a point-in-time reference, as in this is what's happening today. Please don't take this ahead when we release 2016 and say, hey, this chart's wrong. This is a point-in-time chart, so it's worthwhile noting that. But you see here, we're bringing in Visio and Project as well, because this isn't, we need to support, well, we do support Office 365 ProPlus Click to Run with legacy versions of Visio MSI and Project MSI. But if you bring it up into the Office and the Office Project or Visio MSI 2013 with Office 365 ProPlus Click to Run today, that's not going to be a supported model. So it's either all Click to Run or all MSI. Your alternatives there are to virtualize one or the other. So you can virtualize it, push it out using Remote App or Azure Remote App, and virtualize one of those versions if needs be. So what are our deployment choices? Hi, we have a question.
Can we have a side-by-side, a 32-bit version and a 64-bit version?
Okay, so the question is, can we have a side-by-side 32-bit version and 64-bit version? No, we don't support 32-bit. It needs to be the same architecture, so 32 and 32 or 64 and 64. Again, to overcome that, you could virtualize 64 bits and deliver that using Remote App, for example, and deliver a 32-bit architecture on the rich client. Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's take a look at some of our deployment methods for Office 365 ProPlus. So, local installation. We can, as an end user, if I have local admin rights, I can go to the Office 365 portal and I can download and I can install Office 365 Pro Plus myself. As IT pros, you can switch off that capability, ensuring that when users go there to the Office 365 portal, that they are not able to download Office themselves. So if you want to control Office and have that in a managed environment, you can switch that off. And as an end user, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and download the Office deployment tool and run setup.exe/configure, pass it a configuration file, and it will stream it from the content delivery network, or customize that configuration.xml and have it point to a local file store or distribution point of your choice. But this is essentially install it on the local machine. And then we have network installation. So again, the Office deployment tool plays a key part for our managed deployments. If you want to place the source files on a network file share, do that. And then you can deliver the Office deployment tool locally to the clients, and that will allow you to run setup.exe, pass the configuration file into it, ensuring that your source path is pointing to that file share, and it will stream the install from a local, from a network installation point. And then our enterprise software distribution mechanisms, System Center Configuration Manager. So could I just get a show of hands? How many people here today are using System Center Configuration Manager? Okay, that's a very large amount. How many people are using Landesk? A couple of people are using Landesk, cool. And how about BigFix? 2 or 3 people? Okay, great. So you can still use those tools. All of the tools, all of the flavors for enterprise software distribution, you can use those with Office 365 Pro Plus. We're still leveraging setup.exe and passing it a configuration file. So you still have that capability to deliver that using those platforms. And we actually have a very good case study for Landesk, actually. And I'll get onto that in a later part of the presentation. And of course, we can leverage the Microsoft Intune platform as well if you want to enable those remote users, but still deliver Office in a managed environment, a controlled way. You want to control the target versions, you want to control the update settings, those kind of things. You can absolutely deliver those through Microsoft Intune. And you can even put it in a golden image, a Windows image. Install it at build, ensure that it's not activated, ensure that you are rearming it, and then sysprep it, and you can put that to the side. And that allows you to then use Office 365 Pro Plus, and when you deploy that build and expand it, you can configure it to go out and get the latest updates. Remembering that it's only going to pull the differences between what's installed and what you're making available. It's not going to go and sequentially look for lots of service packs and lots of updates. It's going to go ahead and get the latest build or whichever build that you're specifying in there. And then when a user wants to log on, they can then activate that. If you're using Active Directory Federation services or another single sign-on provider, you can suppress those notifications and those sign-in, and it can just start Office. And we can run this in application virtualization. We can use AppV5. And using the Office deployment tool, we can flatten the package and deliver it as an AppV package. It's not a case of wrapping up Office, installing it and wrapping up and then delivering it. The Office deployment tool will take out all your task sequencing there, and it will just run setup.exe/packager, pass it the configuration file, and it will flatten it, and it will do everything for you, and then you can load that into your AppV environment. So we can still deliver via AppV. And then remote desktop services and virtual infrastructures. So we can deliver Office 365 Pro Plus using remote app or Azure remote app, and virtual desktop environments like VDI, both persistent and pooled flavors of that. And we can use shared computer activation, which allows us to actually install Office 365 Pro Plus in a shared environment, whether it's a physical machine or a virtual machine. And those sessions, when the user logs in, they don't count towards your 5 by 5 by 5. So you can have multiple remote desktop services or virtual desktop infrastructure sessions running with 365 Pro Plus, but not have it count towards that license count. So what we're ultimately saying is that MSI versus click to run, we have exactly the same deployment options, just like any other version of Office. And I think this is well worth highlighting here, is actually local network, enterprise distribution, application virtualization, remote sessions. It all works, and you have those options available to you. So let's take a quick look at the System Center Configuration Manager. And again, this could very well apply to other enterprise distribution software. Ultimately, what we do is we go and get the Office deployment tool. I have that. Great. I'm going to expand that. I've got my setup.exe, and I've got configuration files. And I can make as many configuration files as I like. I can then use that deployment tool to go and download the source files for Office. So I now have those available to me. I've selected the version that I want, and I have that locally. I then can go in and create an application in Configuration Manager, and I can distribute that application to all my distribution points. I can then deploy, and using System Center Configuration Manager 2012 R2, we have it user-aware and device-aware. So you can deploy it to a particular user or set of users, or to a particular device or set of devices. And again, there is another session that's already been played out this week around deploying Office 365 ProPlus using Configuration Manager. It's a bit more of a deep dive, and it'll actually go through step by step how to do this. But of course, we can also task sequence uninstallation of legacy versions of Office in Configuration Manager. And we do have some tools around from our Fix-It collection that will allow you to do things like clean up legacy versions of Office. So a quick deployment overview here. So if I have my headquarters, I have my branch office, and I have my remote office and remote users. And what I can do here, we have the Office Content Delivery Network. Using the Office Deployment Tool, I can go and get the source files, and then I can place them onto my systems here. And we can then distribute those to branch offices or to other cloud services. And using System Center Configuration Manager, we can pre-cache from the distribution point onto local machines, and we can trickle that down to them. So however long you want that process to take. It can take the source files locally, and then what you can do is execute setup.exe/configure, and it will look for the local source files. And we can also stream it from a distribution point. So here what we're doing is that we're leaving the source files in the distribution point. And then we're running setup.exe/configure, but pointing the source path up into the distribution point. And it will then run that click-to-run streaming process through down onto those local machines. And then what we're able to do for those remote users, those people that are never in the office, maybe they're your sales workforce and they're out and about, and actually you don't want them calling back to a distribution point all the time. You don't want them to have to be tied to a VPN and to saturate your WAN. What we can actually then do is leverage, again, we could use the GPOs to automatically set an update path or point at those client machines to the cloud, which means that when they run an install, it's going to go to the cloud, and based upon the configuration file settings, you can target a version for them to get from our content delivery network. So you're effectively outsourcing your distribution points to Microsoft. And again, we have global endpoints there. So you're able to go out and say, wherever I am, I can always get the latest version of Office. Oh, we mentioned Windows imaging as well. So you can deploy during the build and capture task sequence. Run OSPP rearm before sysprep. This will clean out Office. Ensure that it's not activated. Ensure that there isn't a product key embedded in Office. Because if that happens and you deploy that build, there's a product key that's listed, and it may have timed out by the time you actually get to deploy and expand that image onto that machine. If it's 4 weeks plus, so more than 30 days, it's going to go into reduced functionality mode, and you may have some difficulties around proxies and firewalls, and it may say, hey, I've got a product key that's being used in a number of other builds. So what we're advising here, run OSPP rearm, clean that out, capture it, and then deploy it. Because what will happen is when it expands, it will then go out for activation according to the user that's done that, rather than an IT administrator. And what we actually see here is that if you deploy a fresh version of MSI Office, and within 4 weeks, before we've released any updates to that, you're going to have, fine, I've got the latest version. But when it gets plus 4 weeks, we still that build time, that expansion time, that install time actually increasing a lot. Now, if you were to take, for example, Office 2013 MSI, deliver that into a build, and then expand it, you've got Service Pack 1 to go on, and then you've got all of those other patches that need to go on. It could be an hour and a half before you're up and running in Office. However, it's always the same amount of time with click to run, because it's only ever looking for the next build that you specified, and it's only ever going to take the delta differences and download, install, and run. So it's very quick moving forward. If you're plus 4 weeks, plus 6 weeks, plus 8 weeks, plus 12 weeks, plus 6 months, it's only going to go out and get the differences between the build that it has and the build that you're making available to it. And again, at V, utilizing that Office deployment tool, making sure that you're able to bring those source files down, and using setup.exe/packager, we're able to flatten those files down, and then you can input the app.v files into your environment. And in terms of updates, what you can do is just rerun that process, repackage the latest version of Office, and app.v will still only take the deltas. So we're still only taking the deltas, even though you've repackaged a full version of Office. It's still only going to do the delta synchronizations there. And of course, we can then go ahead and get our add-ins and our connection groups all configured out. So again, use the Office deployment tool. It does require an output path. So setup.exe/packager, pass it the configuration file, and then allow it, give it an output path to ensure that you've got a location to place those app.v files. And there are some minimum attributes here that are required in order for this process to complete. But ultimately, we no longer have 20 to 30 task sequences that we need to go through for Office MSI. That packager will just do everything for you. You don't need to do anything after you've run that. So here's an example Office deployment configuration file here. So again, setup.exe/packager, my configuration file, and then give it the output path. And we have the minimum. I'm adding the Office client. Here's my architecture. This is the version. This is the product ID. And here are the languages. So that's the minimum requirement there. And then shared computer activation, allowing us to deploy Office 365 ProPlus to remote desktop services. So today, minimum version of RDS that we have is 2008 R2. Citrix XenApp, Azure Remote App, that's fine. You can deploy to your virtualization technologies. We did actually work with Citrix to get this stuff working, so you'll be good there. Also, installation on a physical shared machine. So if you have factory warehouses, if you're in a hospital and you have a nurse's workstation, maybe kiosk workers, maybe they're shop floor workers in your retail branches, and you have a machine that people are going to on a regular basis. No one really owns a machine, but you want to deliver an Office experience to maybe 50% of the population. But the other 50%, they don't have Office. You've decided that you don't need to license them for Office. You're just delivering maybe a kiosk licensing plan to them for Office 365. You don't need to necessarily pay for Office for those people. But those other people that are still using that same machine, they do have Office. Well, how do we deal with that? We can actually deal with that using shared computer activation. And we'll show you a little bit about this. But again, it doesn't count that overall 5x5 licensing. So every time I spin up a virtual environment or I'm going into a shared physical machine, it's not counting to my other PC or Mac activations. I don't need to go to my IT administrators to ask them to deactivate anything every time. So what's the user experience look like? So first we have our Office 365 ProPlus user here. They log in, it hits their Office licensing service, and it's happy. It activates. So then they finish, and someone else comes along. So user 2 comes in, logs into that. They have a version of Office. It's fine. Remember, Office is still installed on this machine, but the Office licensing service is bringing up that activation. And then we have a non-Office 365 ProPlus user here. So they try and log in, and they can't log in. The bits, the source files, the application still exists on the computer, but it's not fully activating, meaning that they can only view and they can only print. So it's not about removing Office for some people and deploying Office for others. It's about having a version of Office on there, and based on their license, they get to use the full functionality. But because, of course, those kiosk users, you may want them to be able to read Word documents, read PowerPoint documents, read Excel documents. And in reduced functionality mode, which is what this will deliver to those users, they can still do that. So there are a couple of additional attributes when you're using the Office deployment tool that you need to run. So display level equals none, and accepts end user license agreement, ensuring that they don't get a first welcome experience when they start up, and ensuring that things get activated nice and quickly. Also the property name, so shared computer licensing value equals 1. So that's important to set that up as well. So here's an example file of that. So you can run setup.exe/configure. You can even make registry changes as well. So there are 2 options for doing this. So you can apply the configuration file at time of install, or you can modify the registry key and add that shared computer licensing with a setting of equals 1 to change a physical machine or a virtual machine over to shared computer activation.
The activation doesn't happen on those computers for shared computer? There's no activation then, or what?
So the question is there activation for those shared machines? There is temporary activation for those users who have licenses. So when a user comes to a shared machine and they log in and they start up Office, if you're using single sign-on, it'll seamlessly log them into Office. If you're not using single sign-on, they'll be prompted for their username and password credentials. That will then temporarily activate Office for the duration of their session. If they then log off and another user logs in, they'll be prompted for the same username and password. If they don't have a user license, it won't activate, and it will just be in reduced functionality mode. If that person then logs off again and someone else comes along, they'll be prompted for login or seamless sign-on, single sign-on, and Office will then activate, and then they'll get to use Office. It's a temporary activation, so if the same person comes back to that same session, they won't be prompted again, unless they leave it, say, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days to come back to that session, in which case the token's likely to have expired by that point. So it's a temporary activation. Conversely, with the full version on a non-shared computer machine, it's every 30 days that process is happening. So effectively what we're doing is we're shrinking that life cycle, activation life cycle down. So, uninstallation of Office. So again, we do have a fix-it that's out there that will allow you to go through and uninstall legacy versions of Office. This is also supported for ProPlus. And there is also a mechanism using the click-to-run technology. You can actually pass it. You can run setup.exe/configure and then pass it a configuration file that includes the remove tags rather than the add tags. And that will actually remove things like Office 365 ProPlus, Visio, Project, all the click-to-run flavors. So in terms of click-to-run, we can remove click-to-run software using the Office deployment tools. So how do we manage the builds in terms of Office 365 ProPlus? Well, to start with updates, we have 3 update mechanisms. So we have the scheduled task that gets deployed at time of installation. And again, these things can be tweaked and changed using group policy. User initiated, so a user can go into Office, click on I want to update Office, and they can update from there. Using group policy, IT administrators can remove this from the user interface. So you can ensure that your users cannot update Office themselves, so we can remove this. And then we have command line. So you can use things like System Center Configuration Manager, package up our Office C2R client, and actually push that out to those client machines to force the update process. So we're able to either manipulate the scheduled task, allow users to update it, or force a command line down to get that working. So again, we have a range of group policy controls. These the update mechanisms can be configured at time of install, but we also have group policy to dynamically update these settings as well. So let's have a quick overview of the upgrade process. So if we want to go ahead and we want to trigger an upgrade process, it will look for a new build. If that new build is available, it will then go and download the delta differences. If we're going from one version, say 15.1 to 15.2, we're only skipping a version, we do something called delta binary compression, reducing that download size from either the content delivery network or that local installation point by up to 80%. So it's a significant reduction on the bandwidth required. And if you're then ready to apply, we'll go through and check if the Office processes are running. If the Office processes are running, it won't update Office. But if we close them down, we can update Office. And updating Office is actually just an application restart. So you can update Office on a very rapid basis, on a monthly basis, with very little impact to the business end users. It does an in-place restart, and it will allow you to pick up from exactly where you were at point of restart, of that application restart. It doesn't require an operating system restart. It doesn't require you to scrub Office like it does with an MSI version. It just does an in-place upgrade. So we can really deliver an agile update mechanism to the business and to your end users just by restarting Office. And it will give them back exactly the place they're in. If it's a complex calculation in Excel, if they're working on a PowerPoint document, it will close Office. Anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes later, it will restart Office, and you're on a new version. It's that simple. And it really reduces the disruption from moving forward with Office. And we're also able to roll back. So again, we can leverage things like System Center Configuration Manager and use that Office C2R.exe to downgrade as well as update Office. So it's just a series of builds, specifying those builds in the command line can take you to another version of Office. It's not necessarily backwards and forwards, it's just another version. So what we see here in our example, I can go to the command prompt or PowerShell, I can find the Office C2R client, which is under the client x64 because that's where this particular one's been installed. Office C2R.exe/update, force app shutdown equals true, so we're forcing that application restart. Do we want to display anything to the end user? We can add true or false. And then update to a particular version, allowing you to control that very, very quickly. And finally, training our end users. So now we have a very agile mechanism for delivering Office to our end users. There's a whole range of resources that we're making available to you to pre-warn your users that a new feature is coming, to ensure that your users can be trained and up to date on the latest features. Rather than saying, hey, 3 years later, we've got all of this new stuff, the UI's changed, and look at the new features and functionality, and we've got to find all these controls again. Well, actually, we're going to make all this stuff available to you in advance, and you can take advantage of our resources, our training videos, our documentation. Create an IT newsletter, push it out. So we're going to have a new version of Office this month. It's the very latest. It's taking advantage of groups in Office 365. And here's a video. And point your users to our resources. Ensure that you can deliver an agile business experience, an agile Office experience to your end users by leveraging our resources. So you no longer have to go through that lengthy adoption and training and internal marketing process to get your end users back up and running and back being productive. Because it's all about productivity. It's all about being on the latest technology, being able to deliver value back into your business, and ensuring that we can maintain compliance and compatibility and support moving forward. So some of the key takeaways from this session: familiar deployment options, exactly the same as Office MSI. So we still have all of those options available to us. Rapid deployment mechanisms, you still have control of how you do that. Just because it's Office for a service does not mean that you don't have control. It doesn't mean that we control Office on your behalf. We just make things available to you and you can take them. You can automate the update process as well. Use PowerShell scripts, use task schedules, download the content, push that into a QA, a user acceptance group, then escalate after a week or two, escalate that into production, and deliver that to your end users using group policy, using task schedules, using PowerShell scripts. You can automate the entire upgrade process. We have new authentication and licensing processes, ensuring that your users are licensed, ensuring that you can activate Office, and make sure that if a user leaves your organization, you can deactivate a license and reprovision it to someone else. Don't worry about the bits. If they still have the bits are free. It's the license that costs. And you control the license in the Office cloud. So that's an important takeaway as well. And telemetry. Use telemetry. Understand what's in your Office estate. Understand how Office is impacting your business, what solutions and add-ins are being used, what documents are being used. Understand where successes and failures are in your environments and which operating systems are working best. Understand the performance of Office overall. And surface that back into the business as well as the help desk and drive down those costs. So I'd just like to end on some customer examples. Henkel over in Germany moved more than 40,000 users from 2003 to ProPlus in 5 months. Rapid deployment, significant. 3M as well, delivering the tools fast, easy to use, and in a diverse environment. And the Hamburg Port Authority as well, reducing that effort for upgrading Office by up to 75%. So there are some additional case study references in the slide deck. I do encourage you to go ahead and download the deck. It's available from Yammer. We are running, we have about 2.5 minutes left. More than happy to take questions, but I'll be here for the duration. So please do come and grab me. And finally, I'd like to just thank you for the session today, for coming along. And don't forget to fill out your evaluations.